Charles Oliveira has broken many UFC records, and it's incredible to see a young man conquer all his life struggles and bounce back from a situation where people have counted him out. He doesn't care how good you are. Oliveira trusts his ability to stop any opponent in the cage. The young Brazilian has been one of the most powerful MMA fighters around for some time. But what makes him so good? First, his style is unique. Charles Oliveira has achieved the most wins by submission in the history of MMA. And that should tell you something about the young man's extraordinary submission method. Most MMA fans bet that when he gets an opponent into the hook, they will submit immediately, and the fight ends. Surely you can't argue with that looking at his records, but what makes his submission game so slick? In his younger days, Oliveira was regularly submitted by a smaller girl. Losing repeatedly to someone smaller must have been humiliating, but it helped him learn something that has made the Brazilian one of the most feared fighters. His submission is so successful because of the variety of ways he does it. Some of his wins have come from rear naked choke, others from guillotine choke and anaconda choke. Sometimes he uses the armbar, knee bar and triangle choke. You get the idea. There are just too many options in his arsenal that drive opponents crazy. He refused to be identified by a single style like some athletes, including boxing legend Joe Frazier, known for his left hook, or Ronda Rousey and her armbar style. Oliveira attacks his opponents with different types on any part of their body. Most people know how to fight a person with great knockout power. You only need to watch out for his right or left hook or pay attention to a guillotine on the ground or a knee bar. So Beneil has to prepare for an array of styles that most people need help to complete. Although his coaches would work to conquer all of Charles' moves, how many he would master before the fight is anyone's guess. With a total of 21 submission wins on his resume, you know Beneil would have a hard time standing up to a man who submitted a secret weapon. Next is his motivation to get the black belt. Anyone who has followed the Do Bronx career would know how motivated the young man is to reach the sport's top. Now that he's there, he is more motivated to remain the best. Oliveira has defended his title only once during his reign as UFC's lightweight champion. His triumph was short-lived when he was stripped of the belt in an unusual circumstance. The 32-year-old was overweight by half a pound in his fight against Justin Gaethje, surpassing the legal lightweight limit of 155 pounds. Since the incident, Do Bronx has been tearing up the division and beating anyone that stands on his way to a title fight. The young Brazilian was on an 11-fight winning run before losing last October to Islam Makhachev, interestingly by submission. Having dealt with the underdog tag for most of his life, Oliveira is among a short list of people who use it as a motivation. After fighting and winning against Chandler in 2021, he proved many doubters wrong. More shocking was the way he won the fight. Most people, including his fans, expected a win by submission. Who would blame them? However, nearly nobody expected a knockout from the Brazilian. He spoke about his desire to be the best in the category. His motivation to reclaim this belt and the mental toughness displayed in fights are among the main reasons a victory in his next fight against Dariush is easily possible. But Oliveira's biggest motivation comes from his childhood. Doctors told his parents that their son may never walk again. He spent 2 years in the hospital, but his parents never gave up on him. When he recovered, the doctors advised against any strenuous physical activity. A few days later, he returned to playing soccer in Brazil and jiu-jitsu, called the gentle art in school. Nonetheless, the young man refused to be beaten. Today, he uses his past struggles to build mental toughness and motivation to win fights. Obviously, the same level of motivation and never back down attitude towards life would help him win the most fights of his career yet. In addition, we must talk about the Do Bronx striking. A look at his record would make you think about the fights won by submissions, and you would be right to think so, considering the number of submissions in his career. Nonetheless, there is more to the Portuguese-speaking athlete. His striking is as good as it gets in MMA. Every fighter that has stepped into the ring or octagon has formulated their style from various disciplines, including boxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and Muay Thai. Most people say that a fighting style makes the fighter. For Charles Do Bronx Oliveira, his striking is special. Since his UFC debut, The Brazilian has used formidable striking to conquer opponents. He uses an aggressive style of kickboxing that works with a significant amount of forward pressure. Although he is not popular for having heavy hands, he has dropped opponents like Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and Justin Gaethje. His lanky frame and clinching skill help him keep opponents at a kicking range. Then he picked them apart with long-range straight punches and taps. When in clinching range, he often ties up the arms and prevents any major strikes from opponents, while also setting up his grappling offense, which seriously damages most fighters. So, the Brazilian is mostly safe at close and long range. However, his most difficult range to stay safe is in the pocket or the opponent's punching range. Although he makes it difficult for them, it is not impossible. The medium range is the hardest place for him to use his advantages. In addition, his Muay Thai stance makes it slightly difficult for him to retreat quicker in a medium range. In recent fights, his footwork has improved, and he appears more light on the feet and angles out better. He also has a style of stalking opponents, and that pressure gives a small window of opportunity for other fighters to do similar things to him. Now, let's look at his stance, which is traditional Muay Thai. It is an upright and square posture with feet planted high guard. In most of his fights, Oliveira puts the most weight on the back leg, and the benefit of such an approach is being able to shell up and defend against big power shots by blocking your head and checking kicks better. Charles is excellent at blocking, looping shots, and checking kicks that target his front leg. While Charles may not truly parry or deflect many shots, he is nearly perfect at framing, a classic Thai boxing frame that he uses to protect the vulnerable part of his face. Also, he creates space with the other leg. On his offensive aspects, Charles is a fighter that likes to push the pace often and has different ways of doing it. He uses his range to keep opposing fighters at optimal range for kicks and straight punches. We have seen early on in his career that Charles is a pressure fighter and has now learned how to circle fighters before giving them the nice left hook he has alongside other cornering strategies. Ultimately, his methods are worth considering and would give him a significant advantage against Dariush. Sometimes he explodes into a range of flashy kicks, especially jumping front kicks, and with his long legs and excellent balance, he's able to close the gap even if he doesn't land the kick. Also, he does the stand switch into range in a unique way, by faking the trap kick back and forth until he has you where he wants. Charles often uses this method when trying to initiate the clinch before going into full grappling mode. However, his most effective striking offensive style is to clinch the Thai plum, which leads to devastating knees and elbows. His technical offensive strike is among the best in the division. He is a dynamic striker, taking any opportunity to throw and land strikes from multiple angles with many types of strikes. Also, Charles has improved his technique and takes a shorter time to find his range, sometimes with a fluidity that shocks many opponents. He has learned to adapt his attacks to each opponent, and you will see a unique combination against Dariush in the next few weeks. Finally, we have to talk about his experience at the top of the table. He has been competing in the UFC for more than 10 years and has faced some of the best fighters in the sport. Charles has defeated the best of the best and come out on top more often than not. Every athlete knows that experience often makes the difference between losing and winning. Again, we expect Charles' experience to help him overcome Dariush. The fight between both fighters promises to be epic, and we cannot wait to see it. Do you agree that Charles will overcome Dariush? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. If you found this content valuable, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more. See you in the next one.